Hi everyone, in this video I'll be explaining how to use this new graduate school organizer template that I've created in Notion. So initially this template was created because I had discovered this Notion plugin that was really useful for me. So it's called Notero, and it's basically a plugin that allows you to sync your Zotero library into a Notion database. And one caveat with this system is that it only allows you to sync in with one database. So if you have, for example, multiple databases that are related to multiple different projects, if you want to sync between those different projects, you have to reconfigure the plugin every time. So instead of doing that, I created the system that allows you to separate the literature that you import from Zotero into different projects and then added a whole bunch of things around that. So this is what I'll be presenting here. Okay, so I'll first present how the library works and how this is connected to all of your different projects. So your library is the database that is going to be connected with your Zotero. So here I have an example where I have two articles, and this display, so the bibliographic info tab and the summary tab, look very similar to what the original author of this plugin created as a template. And I added one small tab here called the inbox tab. And so as you're adding articles to your Zotero library and that those articles are being imported into Notion, these will all appear here in this inbox. And so what you can do is you can assign each of these articles a project. So like, let's say that this is related to project 1. So I can assign it a project and then it will be classified into that project. So it'll disappear from this inbox tab. Now, let's say that you don't have time to classify all of the articles that you imported. These will also clear out of your inbox after a week, so you won't have too much backlog in here. Once they've cleared out, if you want to assign a project to an article that you've imported more than a week ago, you can go back into the bibliographic info tab and assign them their project. Now, here I only have two articles, but you can imagine that as a grad student, we'll probably have, over 100 articles in your library. So how do you easily filter out these articles depending on the project that you want to work on? Well, then this is where the projects come into play. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and here I'm going to select project 1. So each project will have their own project library that you can click on here. And this is essentially a filtered version of your entire library. So here I'll only have the articles that are related to that specific project, and they are essentially there ready for you to read them. So if you click on the open button here, you can see all of the properties of that article. So some of them are automatically filled in by the Notero integration, and some of them you can fill out on your own. And then if you want to take more detailed notes about what this article talks about or what you want to remember from this article, then you can lay that out all underneath here on the page. So next, let's look at what the project pages generally look like. So project pages will also have their properties. So the two most important ones are going to be the category property. So here by default, this is going to be assigned to thesis, but if it's a side project, you can change it to side project, and project status. So here this is ongoing, but it can also be not started yet, paused, or finished. If you go further down, you'll see that you have a little section here to write a project description. And then here you have quick useful links. So the first quick link is the research log. So if I click on the research log here, this will have essentially all of the daily entries that you have made when you're working on the different tasks that you have. So later in the video, I'll explain a little bit more how that works, but know that here you can see all of the actions or all of the tasks that you've done as of yet for that related to that project. Next, you have the notes and thoughts. So this is where you can write notes and do some brainstorming. For right now, this page is empty, and you can do pretty much what you want or what works for you. Next, I've already talked about the project library. Once you've done your literature review, here you also have a template for the annotated bibliography. So in this annotated bibliography, you can group the papers that you've read by topic. So for example, here I've added this Green Anal article that is relevant for this project. And so here I would replace this statement by what reason I would cite this article for. And then here I can press on the toggle to break down what are the different parts of this article, and I can use this or fill this out as much as I want. If I want to add another article, using the same template, I can just press on the plus, and then here I have a new article that I can just add into this topic. Same thing, so this is more related to content papers, but if you have methods that you saw that might be interesting for your project, you can include them here. Next, we have the protocol and ethics. So these are 2 empty pages, a little bit like the notes and thoughts. However, they're there if you want to write your protocol down. Another reason you might want to record what your protocol is if you make changes, you want to remember why you made those changes, so that could be a good place to add that in there. Same thing for ethics. If you have particular language that you have to use or drafts that you want to create, that might be a good place to put. And then finally, you have the manuscript template. So this template is fairly simple, but again, it gives you a starting place to write your manuscript. So for in the introduction, especially if you're not doing a pre-registered report, you can write down what your rationale is, what your hypotheses are before you start, so that you're a little bit more sure about what your question is, and whether what you're doing will answer that question. Same thing for the methods. I highly recommend that students or researchers write their methods while they're doing them so that they don't forget details. And often when you write your methods at the same time as programming them, you ask yourself a lot more questions that reviewers might ask, and then you might catch some problems in your methodology that you can avoid. And then finally, here in your analysis, you can already start writing your analysis plan even before you conduct your study. And again, for the same reasons as writing the method and writing the instructions ahead of time is good, it gives you an opportunity to think about what you want to record and think about the test that you want to do and whether your study is well designed to do that. So these are all the quick links in the project. And now we have 2 last sections. So one section here is on the bottom, the tasks. So all of the tasks that you will see in this section are related to this project, but the database that is being used for this is actually part of a bigger database with all of your tasks and meetings for all of your projects. But when you look at it in this project page, you'll only see the ones that are related to that project. So we'll see in another project an example of what this looks like. But again, you can see here in a calendar all of the due dates that are related to that project. And if you want to, at a glance, see all of the tasks that are related to that project, you can see them in the all section. And then last little section is here a to-do list. So this to-do list, as you have probably noticed, is in this red square. And this red square actually syncs across all of your pages. So later on in the video, I'll be explaining how the daily planner works. And that's where you'll probably be doing your to-do list for today. But if ever you're in a project and you want to modify your to-do list, you have the ability to do that here. All right, so now that we've seen how the library and the projects work, let's dive into what the daily planner looks like. So again, from the dashboard, you can find the daily planner here. And so the daily planner has 3 sections. The section on top is for weekly scheduling. So here there are 2 options that people can use. The first one is a weekly to-do list, so you can plan out what you want to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. So you can plan out what you need to do for each day. And then if this is not what you prefer, there's another option here, which is closer to time blocking. So with time blocking, you can decide what you do or what you're doing for every hour for every single day, and then you try and follow that plan. So you can schedule meetings, but you can also schedule work sessions or reading sessions, and so that tool can be used that way. Next, we have the tasks section. So again, here we can see the to-do list that I mentioned earlier in the project section. So this is again the same the same to-do list queue. And then here on the right, we have upcoming tasks and meetings. So the first tab that we have here are for the meetings that you have today. So here I don't have any examples, but let's say you had 1 or 2 meetings, they would appear here. In the second tab, we have what are the tasks that you need to that are due for this week. And so here you have 3 examples. So one task that hasn't been started yet, one task that has been started but not completed, one that is almost done, and then here you have none that are done. So what you can do is you can build your daily to-do list based on the tasks that you have to do for this week. And then same thing here, let's say that you want to have a broader view of what you need to do in the next couple of weeks. You have tasks that are to be done in the next month here. And then again, one fun thing about this is let's say that you finished a task, you can then put it in the done section just by dragging it like that. So I'm going to put this back here. And then one last little note here, I've organized the today's to-do list in 2 sections. So the first section is what do I need to finish today? So those are all of the urgent little tasks that I would have to do. And then what should I continue working on today? And so those are the longer tasks that I need to work on a little bit every day. So the last section here is a task tracker. So contrary to the second section, which really has to do with what tasks need to be done or a to-do list, this last section is where you can record what you have worked on. So let's say that you have a task that requires multiple subtasks. So for example, let's say you needed to program the task for project X. Well, then you might want to create your stimuli first. So let's say that you did that. So here created stim for project X. And you can say, okay, I spent 45 minutes working on that. You can attach that to the task. So here, program task for project X. And then here I can write some notes. So maybe I only worked on certain stim for project X and not all of them. So here I can just write, okay, I worked on the auditory stim. And then what type of entries this is a task. So again, this is a good way to track what you do every day. So let's say that you spend time in class, you go to a social event, you do work or volunteering. So a lot of grad students do TA-ship, so you can enter that here as well. Let's say that you have a meeting or you need to do some emails or admin. I really recommend that people record the most that they can. So after that, it's easier for them to see how they're spending their time. And for me, that had there were 2 goals in there. The first one is that seeing what I did motivated me to work on tasks because I could see that I was being productive, even if it was like small tasks that lasted 5 minutes. And then the other one is tracking your time can help you better understand where you're spending your time and how to become a little bit more efficient. If you see that you're spending a lot of time on one project and it's not being very productive, maybe you should switch projects or switch how you work on that project more specifically. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the individual development plan here. So this comes from someone I don't remember their name of, unfortunately, but I will link in the description below. She does a lot of writing workshops, and this is inspired from her idea of how to build an individual development plan. So the first thing that you can do is here in this table, you can enter all of the things that you anticipate working on during your graduate degree, whether that's master's or PhD. Here, this is set up for a PhD because that's what I'm doing. And so you can set up what are some of the different milestones that you have to do, what are some of the projects you're going to be working on, whether that's thesis projects or side projects. scholarship applications, TA-ships, are you going to be supervising honor students, and then doing other professional development activities, so workshops, certificates, or conferences. So you can enter all of that here and then plan for each semester what you anticipate doing for that. So for example, here for my first PhD project in the fall, I anticipate doing a literature review and preparing a proposal. And then in the winter, setting up that study and doing piloting. And then hopefully by the end of that semester, start collecting data and then finishing data collection in the summer of 2023. So you can do that for the different projects. And then go to the current semester tab. And here this will filter out all of the projects that don't have any entries, so you can see all of the projects that you'll be working on for that semester. And then from that, sort of make a list of all of the tasks that you'll have to do to accomplish those goals for that semester. So that's a good way at the very beginning to just see what you have to do and organize your tasks in consequence of that. And then let's say that we're finished the fall semester and we're moving on to the winter semester. What you can do is right click here and hide this column and then change the filter so that instead of having fall 2022, we're going to create a new filter with winter 2023 and is not empty. And so now I'm on to the next semester. All right, and then you'll also have to change this filter here. So I've set this filter to due dates between September 4th and December 24th because that was for the fall semester, but when you change to the winter semester, you'll have to change these dates so that it corresponds with your winter semester. All right, so now that I've gone to the major sections in this template, I'll go and explain all of the last little bells and whistles. So first, I'll start with the dashboard. So in the top left corner here, you have different quick links. So we've already explored 3 of them. There's the daily planner, the library, and the individual development plan. And then you have 3 last pages here. So the first one is a research ideas page. So this is where you can record all of the ideas that you get when you're reading literature or doing or having a conversation with someone. You can record them in here. So you just click on you write what the name of that idea is, and then you can decide, okay, is this does this seem like a low demands project, medium demands, or high demands? What's your interest level for that project? So is this a good idea, but you're not really interested in doing it? What impact do you think this project will have, and what idea type is this? Is this a topic that you're interested in diving more into? Is this a real concrete project or experiment, or is this an idea just for a paper, whether that's like methodological or a review or something like that? The next page that we have is related to applications. So this is where you can keep track of different applications that you want to potentially apply to. So here I've created an example with a MyTax program. So let's say you want to do a MyTax internship like this. The organization is MyTax. Let's say, so the type here, this is for a program, but let's say that you wanted to submit a publication to a journal. You would here use publication. If you're applying for a conference, same thing, here conference. If you're applying to a job application or for a scholarship, you can really choose what is the most appropriate type. When's the due date? So when do you have to apply for? What's the completion status? So here it's marked as not started, but you can, as soon as you start it, say it's in progress or done. And then the results. So here, since I haven't really submitted it yet, we can just leave it to pending. But then when you get the reply from the organism, you can say whether you've been rejected or accepted. And then here you can include the link for that specific program, and then any notes that you think are important to remember about this this application. And then last thing here is if you want to see it in a more organized way in terms of what status does this application have, you can click on the status tab, and then you can see what applications are pending, accepted, or rejected, and you can easily change them from one column to another like this. So that's for the applications page. And then finally, we have a resources page. So this page is empty for right now. And again, like the other empty pages, this is really just so that you have a place where you can put resources, whether that's links on how to program or how to do experiments in a certain way. So this is a useful place for that. Now, if we move out of the quick links, we have the project section here. So we've already looked at one project, but we actually have 3 different templates for these. So the first one is the project template like I had just demonstrated. So let's say that I want to create a new project. I can name this project here. So let's say this is project XYZ. And then it's a research project. So I'll click on the project dashboard. And then like I said here previously, by default this is going to be thesis, but let's say that this is a side project. I can say side project here. By default it's going to be ongoing, but again you can change it to not started, paused, or finished. And then we have the same sections that we saw earlier on today. But let's say that you wanted to do, and last little thing is that you can add a cover, and this can help you identify your different projects a little bit faster. But let's say that you have other projects. So let's say that you're taking a class as part of your PhD or your master's. So this is where the class dashboard comes in. So let's say that this is Intro to Cognitive Psychology. So here by default the category is going to be class. The project status is going to be ongoing. Here in the top left corner you can write what the schedule is, where the class is located. Prof email, TA email like this, they're easily accessible. Here this is an empty page, but you can upload the PDF. That is you can upload this syllabus in a PDF format here so that you easily have access to it. The class library is the same thing as the project library, except it's for articles or readings that you have for that class if you include any of those into Zotero. So these are the quick links and information. On the right here, we have tasks, class notes, meetings, and a combination of all of those. So for the tasks, these can be any type of assignments that you have to do or homework that you have to do. You can just add them here. So for example, let's say I have an assignment called Assignment 1, and that the due date is for September 9th. And then status is I have not started this yet. So you can add all of your assignments here like this. For class notes, same thing, you can add, let's say that this is for you're in the first week of school, so you can say week 1 intro to course, so obviously you'll have a more specific topic for the first class, and then again you can say, okay, this won't be a due date, this will be what date is the class, so let's say that classes are on Tuesdays, so this is the 6th. And then status, you can just write NA because it's a class, you don't really have a due date for that. But then what's cool is that you can open this here on the right and then write all of your notes for that course, and then they're easily findable within your project database. So let's say that you want to write your notes here. So you can add pretty much anything in this section. Finally, if you have meetings, whether that's with the prof or with other students, you're working on a project and you want to record what you do in your different meetings, this is a place where you can do that. And let's say you want to see everything that has to do with that project, you'll see them here in this All tab. And then finally on the bottom here, we have a grade calculator. So let's say that you have exams or tests. These can be entered here, so that let's say you have a midterm exam and that you got a grade of 85, and the weight of that exam was 40%, so it's 40% of your mark. Well, then it will calculate the total points, and once you've entered all of the assignments and the exams, you'll be able to calculate what your approximate final mark will be. And then lastly, you can also add or include some of the feedback you got on that assignment. And so that can be useful, especially if some assignments are building on other ones. So this is for the class template. And then there's one last template that might be interesting or useful. as a grad student, and that is committee or lab templates. So a lot of us are a part of labs and have lab meetings or journal clubs or things like that, or are part of committees. So we have a template for that as well. So it will be the committee dashboard here. And let's say that this is for lab meetings or anything that is lab related. So you can just say lab 1. And so same thing here, you'll have the journal club articles, which is the same idea as the project library. This history or log is all of your daily entries that are related to this project. So anytime that you've done something for in that project, whether it's have a meeting or prepare something for that meeting, they will appear here. And then here on the bottom we have this, it's the same principle as the other project templates, where you can have tasks here, switch them between not started and done, and same thing here, have all of your meetings recorded, and then see everything in one list. So obviously this is empty, so you won't see anything, but you can fill that out as you go along. So those are for the projects. On the bottom right here, we have calendar and deadlines. So this is your part of your tasks and meeting database. So that's all of the tasks and meetings that you enter into this template will be part of this database, and they can all appear here. So all of the tasks that have a deadline will appear on this calendar, and same thing, all of the meetings that you will have will also appear on this calendar, so you can have an overall view of everything that is going on. And then lastly, on this left part, we have today's meeting. So this is the same thing as in the daily planner. You'll see meetings and the times that they're occurring, along with the to-do list that syncs across all of your pages. So that's it for this template. Now, once you duplicate it and you want to start using it, what I recommend is that you go into the daily task tracker, erase all of these entries, because these are example entries. So you do that, you select them all, right click, and then just delete. Same thing for your tasks and meetings. So this is the original database with all of the entries with no filters, so you can just highlight all of this and then delete everything that is not useful to you. And then same thing with the grades. And then lastly, to clear all of the projects that are not yours, you can just go here, select everything, right click, and then delete, and then this will allow you to clean everything up and start from scratch. So this is the end of the tutorial. I will put the link to this template down in the description below, along with the link for the Notero plugin. The link for the Notero plugin is also here, so this is a quick summary of what you would need to do to just set up the template for how you want to use it. If you have any comments on how I can improve this template, I'd love to hear them, so you can write them in the comments below. Same thing, if you have questions about how things work, feel free to message me or send a message in the comments. And then lastly, this template is free for anybody who wants it. However, if this is useful and it saves you a lot of time and you find use in it, I would really appreciate any support. So again, this template will be linked in the description below on Gumroad, and then it's on the basis of, name a fair price. So if you really don't have any money, you can get it for free. But if you, like I said, want to support me, that would be very appreciated as well. All right, well, thank you for listening, and hopefully this will be helpful to you.